let's finish this up with a nice quick rendering. In this rendering, I will show you a trick how we can create a transparent background, but actually also have a drop shadow. Before we continue, I just downloaded this logo. That's actually OXO black and white. And let's take a look at some images. OXO plus 10. Again, just for reference to see how are some of these objects presented. Can we take any clues from this actually for actual product renderings? Now this is pretty nice, but obviously this also has a hand in it, and this is deformed. So we can do this actually digitally, but it's a little bit more advanced. We will do this at a later point. I'm paying attention to the nice soft shadows on the ground, for example. This is actually not too bad either. Nice soft shadow, the light on the top. There's a small OXO logo on it. There's the one we built. Very good. Okay, so we need a plane. Shift A. There's our plane. And the bristles, which currently stick through, are obviously wrong, but since we show everything from here, we don't really care about it. That's one of the nice things about 3D renderings. What you don't see, you don't care. Otherwise, it's just wasted time. Let's adjust our environment a little bit. I would like to have 2 viewports. Then Shift A, I add a camera. There's the camera. Local, I will move the camera further back. Here, switch to the camera view. Very good. I can scale the camera icon with S. Bring this a little bit closer. I want that camera to be, no, that's a good angle. Okay, that's all good. Maybe the image format we can adjust. It's a little bit too wide. So we go to dimensions and say maybe 1500 by 1000. It's a little bit better. Now, in terms of positioning the camera, ideally Shift A, add an empty. That empty is too big, maybe 20 centimeters. And then click the camera, Shift, click the empty object, track to constraint. And now we can very easily move the camera. G and ZZ, move it down, adjust the angle. And then with the empty, we can very easily manipulate where the camera should look at. Very good. Okay, this plane we can, if we want to, make as big so it covers the screen. And here's the trick now. We go to render settings cycles, and it works only there. Then we will go to the object properties, go to cycle settings, and here we say shadow catcher. In a moment I will show what that means. But before we continue, let's go back to the camera or render. Go to film, turn transparency on. This is important, so the background will be transparent. We need a light. Shift A, light. There's an area light. Okay, move this one up. The area light obviously is way too strong, I know that. So maybe a 1 meter is too big, maybe 30 centimeters. Okay. We look from there. So I will Shift A, add an empty. Also here again an empty. Oops, 20 centimeters. I make smaller. Move to somewhere else. Then I click the light, click the second empty. And then track there. So when I now in top view move the area light, you see how it rotates nicely. Very good. It makes things a lot easier. This ground plane, I don't want to click all the time, so I will turn selectability off. Now it's a lot easier to select all the other elements we see there. Okay, good. We go to the world. We set this to 0. And here, let's do a test rendering. Before we do this, make sure you saved. Whoops, test renders here. Very good. Okay. So we get a nice reflection on there. That's beautiful. So it's not so flat. So how does this look when we now move the area light over it? So straight on top is just too boring. From there, it's not bad. From there, there. So we can cast a shadow. Maybe I will make the light come from there. So the shadow is actually behind the object. Then all the light is in front, and I don't really want to take a look at the shadow. So let's put the light to there. That's very good. What happens if we move it to there? Then I get a little bit more shadow coming out this way. When I do the light here, the shadow goes more this way. Very nice. We don't have this reflection on here. We can actually shifty move a light to there. Okay. And welcome to digital rendering. I want this light only to show up on the reflection, not really emit any light. So I will go with the light selected, go to Object Properties, and then I turn camera off, this off, diffuse emits light, turn this off, and glossy we keep. And you see with the glossy, it just shows up in the rendering, the reflection. It's a little bit too dark, the rendering. So we go to the world, 0.5. We blow this up a little bit, maybe 0.25. So it's kind of like a light box. And with the additional lights here, we create then our light contrast. Maybe 5. Let's blow in a little bit more. 4. Okay, that's nice. Then before we continue, let's go to the camera again. Where was the color correction? Color management. I always say camera. It looks like a camera, so it's a render setting. Filmic base contrast. High. Very high. Let's keep it this way. Not too bad. And I mentioned I would like to have a nice blurred, not blurred, a nice transparent ground or background, but I want to see the drop shadow. So there's our ground. We then go to Object, Cycle Setting, and we turn Shadow Catcher on. You see it's gone, but we keep actually the shadow. So if we render this out, it will be a transparent PNG with transparent shadow. The bristles are actually dark, so let's see, where are our bristles? I think that's the bristle element. Let's see. That is, oh, that's a viewport color. Okay. So yeah, that's good. Should we make this red, or should we make it black, or not black, but dark gray? This is actually plastic, so specular, make it nice and bright. Very good. Let's select the plastic, specular 1, the silicone. We can make this more reflective, yeah, if we want to. Or what happens if we tone this down? Yeah, see, we don't want to make it too reflective, otherwise it looks too much like plastic. What about the roughness? So that's not good. 0.3. I start seeing here reflections. Yeah, but I think this is fine for what we have. And then there we have our red part. 0.1. Let's make this a little bit blurry. 0.2. Yeah. Very good. Okay. That's actually not too bad for a quick rendering. We would like to have the OXO logo on it, the black one. So do I have the thing still? Yep, here's my image as plain. In case for those who don't see it right now, as a reminder, you go to add-ons, type in IMA, and then click the check mark, and then import plain image as a plain. There it is. Ching. Very good. That one is huge. So scale this one down, move this one up there. Maybe also here we can call this one OXO X and Z. Then we go to side view. I will rotate this one. Try to get this close. There, and make this a little bit smaller. Name branding is important, but don't need to have that logo be massively large. That looks too pretentious. Can turn the look dev on. There we are. Not too bad. We want this to bend, so Control R to loop cuts. Very good. So it's more squarish. Then I add a modifier, sub D, 2 times as simple. Maybe 3. Yeah, 2 should be fine. And then we shrink wrap that thing onto the dustpan. Whoa, wrong object. There. And project negative. And then we want to lift it up a little bit. What do you actually have here? On surface, outside surface. Above surface mode. Interesting. On surface. Okay, I was just curious if there are some tools we could use to help. And then we just very gently 1 millimeter. And there, see that thing stuck through. If we now say 0.5 millimeters, we get it even more snug. 0.4, we just make the mesh finer so it's being draped over that surface better. Very good. Shift or Z and then rendered. Let's take a look. That's nice. And that OXO logo now I would like to be red and reflective. That's the reason why I used the black and white one. So I go to shader editor. There is my logo. There's a diffuse that we keep. So this diffuse I will delete. So now it's black. Then I will add Shift A glossy. That's just reflective. Put this to there and say be red. Okay. Why doesn't this work? So I thought that is correct. You go to there, go to there. Okay, let's do this one more time. color. Yeah, that makes sense because there is no transparency actually inside that image. But okay, so why is this one black? That should be transparent because we have that transparent thing here. Okay, I will pause for a second to figure out what the reason is, and then I will be back. I have no idea what's going wrong. Normally with the alpha or even black and white, we should be able to mix between an opaque and a transparent material. We will simply mix now between, let's say, the red plastic and then the white plastic. And then we use the black and white of the image to mix. So to copy the correct values, I could go to ABS plastic, click this one, Control C, click my label, Control V, paste it in. Boom. Let's select the red one, select this one, Control C, go to here, Control V. There we are. Now then we need to figure out where is what. Whoops, no, that's not the way how this goes. There, turn on the rendering. Okay, there we are. Because these two, so the label and this are exactly the same materials. We don't see any difference. The logo is pretty shiny, so maybe we will, in this case, lower actually the specularity so it stands out a little bit better. There we are. Okay, very nice. So there we have it. Also, you see the bristles get a really nice highlight. So the last thing to do is do the actual rendering. Let's go to render sampling, let's say 200 for our rendering, 50% is fine. And then denoise, and never forget, save, and let's hit render. And the bristles, for example, they will take a little bit of time because there's so much going on. The rest looks pretty good. I already see one thing I overlooked with the OXO label. There is something funny going on here. So I will press escape to cancel it. Let's select the OXO label, go to here because I have VU4, but rendering should be 4 too. What's the quality? That one is new. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay, I have to tinker with that. So let's go 100. And before we continue, now this is how big everything is. I don't need the whole image to be rendered that way. So with Control B, Control B, I can draw a border rendering, and I just try to frame wherever I have stuff that's visible. Just pay attention to, and there is still some shadow stuff, I think, happening. Okay, very good. And render. It'll just take a moment for it to process. But you see it's actually a pretty simple approach. So from this angle, we can actually still see, if we really look for it, that the bristles are kind of like sharply cut off. But then again, we see that, we know that. Does the viewer know that? Or otherwise, we might try to show a different angle, so where that flaw is actually not that noticeable. To make this more perfect, actually, these bristles I would have to bend so they actually nicely curve and stay above the dustpan. And maybe with the bristles too, you realize that that's something most industrial design CAD programs can do. Again, these are tasks why you always go to a more professional render program. And well, the bristles are cleaning up pretty well. They're not too bad. They look a little bit too solid, which is actually good. That means they're nice and thick. You could probably loosen the density a little bit. Here we have some fibers stranding out, and okay. I'm just going to hit cancel now. This rendering is good for me. Oops, where is it? Hello, there. And combine. Here, by the way, we can see the alpha. There you see everything that's black is transparent, and the more it gets white, the more opaque it gets. So here we have an image where the background is really nicely transparent. Our color stuff, yeah, and if we then go File, Save as a copy, and go to Desktop, PNG, A, that's really important, that's what you want. OXO rendering. Let's take a look. Yep, there we are. Perfect. So you see two lights, one light from the front that illuminates and then casts a shadow, the environment with the world to blow it up a little bit. This makes your rendering look a little bit flat, but for a quick rendering, that's fine. And then a secondary rendering, a secondary light where we turn everything off besides glossy, then helps us create the reflections on the object without adding any additional light to the scene. And that's it. Project done. Let's go to the next one.